Hey guys, so today we are talking about some ways to renew your excitement in your existing makeup collection, your older makeup products. Maybe you are trying to just use what you have, maybe you're on a low buy or a no buy, or you're just trying to avoid bringing in a ton of new makeup, but you're feeling kind of bored with your collection, you're in a little bit of a rut. We've all been there. Today I've got some really good tips to share with you to kind of help you get out of that rut and enjoy the products that you have and make your collection feel new again, even if it's filled with products that you've had for a long time. My first tip, this is something I've been doing a lot lately, and it is to experiment with mixing your products together. So today, I actually wore two foundations mixed together that I've never mixed together before. I'm wearing my Oma Beauty Say What foundation mixed with my Ilia skin tint, and I actually really like the way that it looks, but I basically created a brand new foundation that I'd never used before with two foundations that I already had. The other day, I used my Pacifica concealer as a foundation. I have mixed concealers with like a serum or a glowy like face primer. One of my favorite combos for that was the Too Faced Born This Way concealer mixed with the Glow Recipe Niacinamide Dewdrops. That made a beautiful foundation. It had like good medium coverage, but the dewdrops kind of helped to tone down like the high coverage of the concealer to make it look a little bit less cakey all over my face worn as foundation. So even if you have a collection filled with products that you feel like you've used a million times before and you know how they work, chances are there are infinite combinations of products that you've never tried together before. And a lot of times you can even find a combination of products or a way to use a product that maybe you don't like that product for its intended purpose or the way that you normally think to use it, but when you try mixing it with something new or just using it in a different way, you might find that you actually really like that product. So for example, the Pacifica concealer, I actually don't like this concealer at all on my under eyes, and there have been a few times where I've thought, maybe I should declutter this because obviously it doesn't work for me, because normally the way that I use concealer is as an under eye concealer. But funnily enough, I actually like this a lot all over my face as a foundation. I don't even have to sheer it out with anything, and it actually looks beautiful. It's got like a satin skin-like finish on my skin. It wears beautifully throughout the day. Even though I don't like the way that it wears on my under eyes at all, I feel like it fades really quickly from my under eyes, but for some reason on my face it works great. So I'm really glad that I gave this product another chance and tried it in a different way, because I found a way to use it that I really like it, and now I have a beautiful foundation that I didn't even know I had. It was just hiding in my collection for a long time. That is probably how I will end up using up this concealer. Another product that I really didn't like, this Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer at all. I found it very drying and just cakey, not quite hydrating enough for me on my under eyes, but when I layer it over a tiny little dab of the Kopari Starry Eye Balm, which is something I'd been using as part of like my nighttime skincare routine for a while, but I tried dabbing a little bit of this on my under eyes before applying this concealer, and it totally changed the concealer. Now the concealer goes on so much more creamy, and now I have a way to use this concealer that I actually like, and I will actually be able to use it up and get my money's worth out of it, even though there were a few times where I was like, I might just declutter this because I really don't like it, it's not working for me, but I had another product in my collection that totally makes me enjoy using this product. This is something that I've been having so much fun with lately, just experimenting with different cocktails of products that I've had for months or even years in my collection that I never thought to use in this way have just totally changed the game for me, and it's like now I have a brand new collection, or I have brand new products to play with when I mix them together. So that's my favorite tip. If you take one thing away from this video, I want you all to try just have fun, mix and match. It's really just a fun experiment. You know, you might find a combination of products that doesn't work well together, but then you might also find a combination of products that you love that you never would have thought that you would enjoy. And along those same lines, you can also try to make Franken products. I've talked about this a few times on my channel. I have like a short, like a YouTube short, which is like YouTube's version of TikTok, that I filmed creating a Franken bronzer out of a few different eyeshadows. I'm actually wearing that Franken bronzer today. I've been wearing it a lot lately. But you can do this with, you know, face powders. Let's say you have one face powder that's too matte, one face powder that's too glowy. Try mixing them together. See what you come up with. So that is my first tip. My second tip is to try a 1 week one palette or a 1 month one palette. Whatever time frame works for you. Maybe it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But I recently did this with my Anastasia Soft Glam palette, and I do have a video all about that where I showed you all 7 looks that I did that I can link for you. But it was so much fun. Anytime I've done this, whether it be a 1 week or a 1 month challenge, I have come out of that challenge loving the palette so much more than I ever did before. My Soft Glam palette, honestly, I used to love it. I've had it for like 3 years, and for a long time I loved it, but recently I just haven't been as into it. I feel like as new things have come into my collection, that palette has kind of become less and less of a favorite for me. But challenging myself to make a different look with it every single day for a week made me fall in love with that palette all over again, and now I love the palette again. So especially if you have a palette that's maybe older, or if you're thinking about decluttering a palette that you haven't used in a while, try a 1 week, 1 palette, or maybe even like a 5-day challenge. Challenge yourself to use it. If by the end of the week you still don't love it and you're still like, I'm just not into this palette anymore, then that would be a sign to probably go ahead and let it go. But I will tell you, I have never done a 1 month, 1 palette or a 1 week, 1 palette where I didn't come out the other side of it so much more into that palette than I was previously. So I'm just saying, try it out because it really does kind of make that palette feel brand new again. A lot of the looks that I created with my Soft Glam palette I had never done before, and I didn't even realize that I could do those looks with that palette, you know? So especially if it's like a neutral palette and you're like, oh, this palette's kind of boring, it's kind of a one-note palette. A lot of those palettes are a lot more versatile than you think they are. Another thing that you can do with palettes is a palette bingo. I also love doing these. I have got a whole playlist of palette bingos on my channel if you want to check it out and kind of see how it works. But basically, a palette bingo is where you use a random number generator to choose 5 random, obviously, shades from the palette to create a look with, and it's so much fun to see what you get, and it really kind of broadens your horizons with that palette, especially if it's a palette that maybe it's kind of intimidating to you or you don't really know what to do with it or what shades to pair together. This is a great way to kind of push you outside of your comfort zone, and every single time I do a palette bingo, I usually end up saying at the end, I never would have thought of this color combination on my own, but I love how it turned out. This is another great way to make a palette that maybe you've had for a long time or that you've just kind of fallen out of love with. This is a great way to make it feel brand new again because you're probably going to end up with a color combo that you've never used before, and it really does make the palette feel new. All right, so what is this? My 4th tip is for any product that maybe you bought because of the hype, you were super hyped up about it, people on YouTube were hyped up about it, and now that it's been out for a couple years or so, nobody really talks about it anymore, and so you're not feeling as inspired to use it. All right, let's say it's the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. Type into YouTube Too Faced Chocolate Bar tutorial or 3 looks 1 palette or whatever, and I guarantee you will come up with tons and tons of search results from videos, and the videos are going to be a couple years old, but go back and watch those videos and those tutorials and recreate one of the looks that you see. You can do the same thing with Pinterest or Instagram. Type in ABH Soft Glam palette looks or inspo, and you're gonna find a ton of inspiration over there. Just because nobody has come out with any new videos on that product in a while, all those old tutorials are still out there and you can totally still watch them and get inspiration from them. So I really recommend trying that out, especially if maybe you're like doing a pan that palette or some kind of project pan where you're trying to use up a palette and you're starting to feel really bored of it, or you're like, oh, I keep doing the same look over and over again. This is a great way to just make that palette feel new again by watching some of the videos that came out when the palette was new. All right, my next tip is for you if you are feeling tempted by new makeup releases, but at the same time you're also staring at your makeup collection full of products that are going unused, unloved, collecting dust. A great exercise is to try and dupe any new releases with products that you already own. And this could go for palettes. You can try to dupe the shades within a palette, or even other types of products too. I mean, this goes back to the like mixing and creating cocktails of products. Maybe you don't need to buy that brand new skin tint if you have a foundation and a moisturizer or serum that you could try mixing together to create your very own skin tint. And when you do it that way, you can also customize the coverage, the finish. What if you could mix 2 different liquid blushes together to create a shade that's very similar to a new liquid blush release? I mean, there's so many possibilities. I challenge you, if you're feeling tempted by a new makeup release and you just feel like you have to have it, it's like nothing else the world has ever seen before and you must get your hands on it, try shopping your stash first. Just give it a try. You might find something similar, and if not, then you can, of course, go ahead and add that product to your wish list. But I'm just saying, a lot of the time, if you've got a pretty sizable makeup collection, you can probably find something very similar with what you already own. And another tip, this is my final tip, tip number 6, is I feel like nobody really talks about this, and I haven't really talked about it much either on my channel, but you can clean your makeup. If a lot of your makeup is getting old, maybe it's gotten kind of grimy and it's got like fingerprints on it, or just like, for example, I probably need to clean this powder that I'm trying to pan right now. You know, it's got some like kind of residue all around the edges from my brush. Just take like a damp washcloth, or something that I always have on hand is just a little spray bottle of rubbing alcohol. This is what I think most makeup artists use to sanitize their makeup, but here, I'll go ahead and show you right now. You can just spray a little bit of this on a washcloth and then dab that along the edge. And not only does this make your makeup more sanitary to use, but it also makes it feel new again. You know, when your makeup is all covered in fingerprints and smudges and everything, you know, of course you are not going to feel as excited to use it as like a brand new, shiny, beautiful product. But maybe just take a day to go through your collection and kind of wipe things down. I mean, look how much better that looks already. It looks so much better. I always feel more excited to use my products when they're clean and they look new. Any powder product, you can just do a few spritzes of rubbing alcohol on those. Leave them open to dry. Usually, you know, the higher percentage of alcohol, the better. I like to use 91% isopropyl alcohol, but the higher percentage, the more quickly it will evaporate. And in my experience, it doesn't really mess with like the formula or the performance of the product, but it does just kind of help to sanitize it. You can do that with any powder product. Yeah, now I want to go through all my makeup and wipe it down. But if you don't have rubbing alcohol, you could even take like micellar water or some kind of like makeup remover water to like just wipe down the outside of your products, and that just will like really easily remove any of the kind of grubby, smudgy grossness that accumulates on makeup. So those are my 6 tips to help you renew your excitement in your older makeup. These are things that I like to do on a regular basis to just kind of keep me feeling excited to use the makeup that I own. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel, because this is what my channel is all about. It's about inspiring you to use what you have and enjoy what you have. And, you know, of course, like everyone else, I love buying new makeup and reviewing new products, but what I really love is enjoying the products that I've spent my hard-earned money on, and that's really what my channel is all about. So I'd love to see you again very soon. Also, if you want even more of me, I do have a Patreon. I'd love to see you over there as well. We've got fun bonus content over there. But anyway, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and hopefully I'll talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye.